had a LPGA rookie that spent the last week down here with me, and she has a grip that notoriously, it's just a gorgeous, start it down the middle, fades about 3 yards, and she goes, every time I try and draw the ball, I really get in trouble. And I said, why? And she goes, you've seen them. They don't draw. They go further right than any shot you've ever seen. And I said, exactly. And all we literally did was change one little thing in her grip, and she went, oh my gosh, that's all I need? Should I use this on every shot? I said, why would you? The only club that you have a little interest in drawing is this one, and every time you try and draw it, you end up blocking the ball 20 more yards offline. The rest of your stuff, it's a nice little fade. Why wouldn't you play that? All of a sudden she went, yeah, this is pretty cool. It's kind of like I got this little nuance I'm going to create, and now I know the ball, when I try and hit a draw, it'll either go straight, it'll draw a little, but it won't go somewhere where I got a lot of work in front of me.
Golf Smarter number 780. To draw or to fade? That is the question. Or is it? With Joe Hallett.
This is Golf Smarter. Sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Joe.
Fred, how are you, man? It's we're at least getting to talk on a little more regular basis. And The only problem on your behalf is that I'm not sure I can accumulate enough information if our in-between times are shorter. I only need a year or two to gather up enough stuff.
Oh, come on. I'll throw in a second quarter, Joe. You know it'll just get you going. We don't need much to get you going. That's why I love having you on, because it's not just that you get going. You have a wealth of information to share that is just you need to tap in.
And as long as we keep doing this, I'm rapidly approaching that age that someday my filter is going to go off, and then you'll really hear the real truth, like Bob Toski at age 95. So well, you can do that if you want to, but you might as well take up tennis. Thank you, Mr. Toski.
Well, maybe we'll do this one a late night and have a couple of shot classes, and we'll throw in a couple words that every time you say something like that, we'll have a shot, and one will really get you going.
That has to be at night. Idea. All right.
Well, it's night somewhere. I mean, we're in different time zones.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, man. So I love getting this explanation from you because I think it's an important place to start. But you are a PGA Master professional, correct?
Well, I'm apparently en route to being a master professional. COVID kind of interrupted that a little bit. So Even though I am a PGA Master professional and I've completed the requirements, which is basically, it's kind of neat, to be honest with you, and kind of what is a master professional? How does one become master professional? You basically put a thesis, or you put your swing theory and your idea of what works best in short game and what works best in the putting arena. You put that down, and it's something that has taken me, our PGA Director of Education, Dawes Marlott, would tell you, Joe, that's taken you about 15 years longer than it should have. And, we get busy teaching and we do all these things, Fred, but it actually forces you to put your ideas down. Basically, at the end of it, you have a book. And, okay, this is what I believe in the setup. These are the keys that I've seen that have worked for some of the best players in the world. And once you actually submit that to the PGA, and then you have a mentor who is a master professional, mine is Ed Ibargouin, and I know Eric Alpenfels over at Pinehurst has helped me on this
he's
also.
Been on before. Yeah,
and so that's the first step. And the next step, which is literally making a presentation of that, which obviously can be done on Zoom. And then the third step of that is giving a live lesson. And that's where COVID kind of interrupted the process a little bit. As myself and Christopher Smith from out in the Portland area, he and I were on the track to get this thing done. And so we are going in the spring to complete the final process of this. So I'm not a master yet. I'm still I don't know. I'm Obi-Wan to the master at this point, but trying to get there. But it's when you take a lesson or you find someone who has PGA Master Professional behind their name, you're looking at someone that has done probably 3 or 4 specific things. When we look at Master Professionals, first you become a PGA professional, then you become a PGA certified professional. you get to be the PGA professional, and then maybe you start to have an idea, hey, I'm better at club operations, or in my particular field, and those like me, I really like this teaching thing. I want to stand out there all day in the hot sun and the cold weather. I want to help people hit the golf ball, and I want to help them achieve what they can achieve. So you kind of start going in these paths. And on that path, the next step is the PGA certified professional, which I have done probably 10 years ago at this point, I think. And then you have another amount of time, potentially another 2 years or 3 years, where you can start putting things together and you can apply and go online to apply to become a PGA Master Professional. And there aren't a whole lot of them in the US. I would think the number right now to 20,000 might be 200. And, you know, what you're dealing with there is someone who has not only found their niche, but has said, I'm willing to put my ideas and the things that I have used to help golfers better. I'm willing to compile them and stand with my peers and not necessarily be judged, but be helped by my peers and validated in such a way to go, okay, this is a little different than I would teach, but you're able to get a higher ball flight. You're able to get more distance. You're able to get, as we chatted off air, you're able to curve the ball the way you would like, not curve the ball unintentionally the way you don't like. And it's at that point, it's a validation of, you know, what I've learned and what I've been teaching is not happenstance. And Fred, there's a big combination of that. It's not just the science of the thing. It's not just the technology. You clearly have to have some communication skills. You have to have some time management. You have to understand, you know, how to say things or present things so that not only instructors can understand it, but students can understand it. And I'll be very honest with you. I'm ready. Chris and I are ready to go in March and just knock this thing out and get it done with. And even Dawes at PGA has said, guys, I know you've been in limbo with this and you're ready to go. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to it. It's been something that, you know, I mean, you could think of those chores you've had around the house that you still haven't got to. And then finally you go, I should have done this 10 years ago. I could have got it knocked out. And from that point, you start looking down the names of those master professionals and you see the Mike Adams and you see the Eric Alpenfels. And you look at those guys and you go, man, they've taught so many lessons. They have forgotten more than I know at this point in my career. And it's an association of professionals that really help build each other up and are always, that's one of the coolest things, is to be able to kind of go, hey, have you seen, and I think potentially we're going to talk about some new technology that's come out, and say, hey, what do you guys think of this? What if something only costs $6 a month instead of $30,000? You know, is there validity to this? And is there another way to teach this? And there's so much stuff coming out, and you're looking at, I think, guys who bring a wealth of experience in that master professional category and kind of go, yeah, actually, if you could use this, I'll bet you could change someone's swing plane faster. I'll bet you could change the ball trajectory faster. So it's been pretty good. It's I'm going to say I'm proud to be part of them, but by the time this thing airs, I think I'll be part of them.
We hope so. We hope that you get both vaccines and then you're out there making your presentations. What is it about the level of being a master professional? Are you teaching the teachers?
Yes. And that's something that I've been privileged to do even as a certified professional and as a PGA faculty member for the last, almost 15 years now. And that's, you know, we're going back into the classroom, so to speak, and back out onto the lesson tee. And we're helping these young apprentices that are coming up that can look at things and say, well, the path is, you know, -4 and the face is also -4. And you can stare at them and go, and exactly what does that mean? And they look at you and they're like, well, it isn't supposed to be 0 and 0. And you go, yes, but what did the ball do? And, oh, is that why the ball didn't get in the air? And more importantly, how do you fix that? So kind of taking some of that real world in the trenches stuff and being able to, you know, it sounds weird, Fred, but gosh, I mean, you can go back as long as you want to. You can go back to Harvey Penick. You can go back to Dr. Bill Strasbaugh. The ball doesn't lie. And even the new technology people go, the ball will tell you what happened at impact. And if you can start working backwards towards that early in your career, rather than just seeing the numbers and not knowing what it looked like, it becomes a fast equation. So you got some guys with gray hair that are out there with some kids with non-gray hair, and we're going, let's add these two things up and we'll get you to your goal faster.
Interesting. We're talking to Joseph Hallett, PGA Master Professional, and we will be back to have more conversation with him about some interesting things right after this. So are there people who are not certified or have not been certified by the PGA that are allowed to give lessons? Is it okay for anyone to give golf lessons?
It is. And in that realm, I think PGA would actually kind of tell you, look, you get what you pay for in a way. But on the other side of that, the two things that have popped up, one is you have a guy like Ledbetter who was, there's a couple of guys who, were members of other PGAs, and at that point in their career had already, he's already working with Faldo and everybody else. So, but
what does that mean, other PGAs?
Like South African PGA or the European PGA. And
so when it's not all one giant global organization?
It's trying to be, but they keep running into snafus because you're either part of the European Union or the American Union. And I remember when I was at PGA, that was an interesting topic. We'd like to get everybody. We think we can get Argentina and China. And I'm like, well, that's a long flight if you're trying to get from one to the other.
Yeah.
But, like a guy like Ledbetter is, he's done so much for the PGA that they basically made him an honorary member, and they've done that for other guys.
Well, so Ledbetter was never certified by the PGA to give lessons?
Not originally.
So then what was it that made him so compelling to so many high profile golfers?
He, because the original guys he was working with were South Africans who he brought over there. Dennis Watson was the first one. And when Dennis Watson won the World Series of Golf, you got Nick Price going, and then you got Faldo, and all these guys start going down there. And the beauty of what David did is he gave himself freely over and over and over to the PGA sections. And, hey, we'd love to have you teach at the coaching summit. And so, there was never a question of, hey, you're not a member. We want your information. Jimmy Ballard might be another example. We've had him at the teaching summits for so long that, it's like, clearly this guy gets results. He's not a member, but let's listen to what the facts may be. Sasho McKenzie, not a member, but everybody wants to hear what he says. So it's about making that impact in the game of golf.
Because clearly you're, after 780 conversations on this program, I've talked to a lot of people who are and who are not PGA certified. And some people will tell me that, no, I never will, nor do I want to, because they just want you to be in lockstep with the way they're teaching. And I don't teach that way. Right. And I don't believe in that method. How is that viewed by the PGA?
It's less about what can the PGA do for me than, man, this PGA has a ton of resources that I can tap into, and I can get a lot more done being just one person. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's always like, well, what's it going to do for me? The people that graduate go, oh, did you know you can buy this stuff cheaper? Did you know that because you're with PGA, when you do this, that amount of money goes into a retirement account? Did you know that because you're with the PGA, you get rental cars for $30 a day? Did you know? Because it's stupid little stuff like that, but it is so wide across the board. Every year you learn about it, you go, God, I never knew we had that option. That's pretty cool. I had no idea.
So where do I sign up?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, they didn't hand it to me. Well, all you had to do was open the webpage and kind of peruse it and go, oh, I had no idea.
Can I be a PGA certified interviewer?
Absolutely.
There's a path for that too, right? There's a path.
No, you just nominated to teach the class.
No, I don't want to teach. I don't feel qualified. I'm a real good student here, though. Saw an interesting article the other day about It was actually about Colin Morikawa's game. And I think about his game a lot, especially after when he won in Harding Park this past year. And then we've got it followed up by Bryson DeChambeau. And here you have these two young studs that are coming along and are the future of the game, but from very, very different directions. And my question always is, who's going to be there in 10 years? Morikawa or DeChambeau?
If the ability of your body to hold up over extreme stress has anything to do with it, I don't know. I mean, you look at Colin Montgomery, I'm not sure he ever put his body under extreme stress, or Darren Clark. Yeah, right. They enjoyed a few pints of Guinness, and man, they're still playing as good as ever.
Yeah. Natural ability, but how the guys with the natural ability and the work ethic get there. Yeah. But how do you separate yourself from everybody else once you're there?
Yeah.
Bryson is clearly the mad scientist of golf. Is so fascinating and definitely is doing something to separate himself from the pack. But, it's the tortoise and the hare.
Morikawa.
Morikawa's going to be there in 10 years. Yeah. One of the things that fascinated me about that Colin Morikawa article that I was reading, what separates pros and amateurs is that pros know how to hit the ball the same way every time. Yeah, I think that's part of why I continue to have these conversations with people is it's, for someone who doesn't get to play 8 hours every day and have a coach with him 5 hours a day, it's hard to work on that shot and get it to be the same every time. And beautifully, Morikawa said, I think the biggest key is just to understand your shot shape and what kind of shots you like to hit. I'd love your thoughts on that comment.
That's to me, that's one of the things besides the speed that kid has with his club head off the tee. Besides that, and I mean, there's so many great things that happened in the majors last year, but to watch him drive that par 4 and just absolutely knock it up there in the eagle range, that was incredible. But what he's saying is something that this is a tough call for some golfers, I think, I almost go back to, I want to say, what Legend of Bagger Vance, or to hear maybe some of those old sporting commercials with Arnold Palmer saying, find your authentic swing or know your swing.
Golf in the Kingdom.
Yeah. And that produces a certain shot shape. And look, the reality of it is this, if it's not catastrophic, you probably don't need to go and redesign yourself. You need to make that shot more controllable. And, let's say you fade the ball, but every once in a while it's a 20-yard slice. Well, but maybe going out and trying to learn how to hit a draw, man, when you start talking about neural learning and the way your brain learns, you're going to learn to hit a draw. And my good friend, the next time you get in the course, you're going to have 3 shots that will be very enjoyable all day. You'll have your fade, you'll have your draw, and then you'll have a hook. And so just trying to go the opposite way, I think the other thing that Morikawa said, and to really understand a statement, is the pros know how to hit it. They know how to hit the same shot over and over. They're not necessarily hitting it straight. They can when they need to, but they have a favorite flavor. And it's either a little draw or a little fade. And I think when you look at somebody who goes out there, the holes they salivate with, the holes that, they look at the pin placement and go, God, you'd have to be really gutsy to go after this. But if you're the guy with the 5-yard fade and the pin is tucked over there by the right bunker, that's right in your wheelhouse. If you have the 5-yard draw, this shot becomes a lot tougher. So knowing that and knowing, you look at Morikawa and you start thinking, you take that trip and you go, gosh, I played as a junior, I played as a collegiate level player, I got to the mini tours, I got to the Corn Ferry Tour, I got to the regular tour, and I did it all with this shot. And there are a lot of guys that make that final step and they go, there's no way this will hold up out here. I got to change it. And there's a lot of stories of guys that have gotten to tour with a certain style of play, maybe a lower trajectory or higher trajectory. And then they play with other people and they go, oh my gosh, well, that guy, no wonder this guy's been out here. He hits a high draw. I hit a low cut. I'll never make it out here. And, it's having confidence in what you can do, knowing your shot and knowing how to hit it. It's vitally important. And how does the average player do that? Kind of get out there on the range. Look, whether it goes left or right. The biggest thing you could start to help yourself with is go get an alignment stick, march that guy about, 8 or 9 steps right in front of your ball on your target line. Your first goal is how many times out of 10 can I hit that ball over that stick or through that stick?
Oh, that's great.
The more you do that, the more you find out, wow, so those shots that really go to the right, they don't even start out on line. And that's where it could be something as simple as ball position, alignment, maybe staying in posture when you hit the shot instead of trying to hit it too hard. I mean, those are just 3 simple ones. You want to do something really funny to test that out. Walk out there, put that stick 8 to 9 yards in front of your ball and hit it completely flat-footed. I mean, like Mr. or Mrs. Haverkamp from Caddyshack. Put a little more effort into it than that, okay? But hit it completely flat-footed. And you'll be surprised how many times you can start that ball on line. And the minute it starts on line, then you really know where your curve is. And that's just something the average player can do to get out there. And, Fred, I'm going to throw the other edge of this thing on there. And I know your listenership is wide, varied, and numerous, but some will remember there was a gentleman named Bruce Litzky. And if you ever had the chance to watch Bruce Litzky play golf, you would scratch your head and you would go, you look and you'd say, you really expect me to believe this guy's on tour? I said, yeah. I mean, literally a pole slice that would probably start 5 to 7 yards left of the target, cross over the target, and end up 5 to 7 yards right of the target.
Wow.
But he hit it every time. And he literally never changed. And he got to a point where there were golf courses he wouldn't play because literally they had more dog-leg lefts than dog-leg rights. And he goes, I'm at a disadvantage here. So he would play the courses he knew he could play good on. And as you know, I mean, sadly, he passed away a couple of years ago, I believe. But literally, he had a long career on tour playing his shot, which was not the prettiest thing in the world. In a way, it's intimidating to opponents because he's not out driving you. He's not hitting the ball more solid than you are. And he's certainly not hitting it straighter than you are. And you go, how is this guy beating me? So there's an intimidation in there. But he played the courses he wanted. He played when he wanted, and he knew what he could do. And that's where Morikawa, I think, is incredible because he can turn the ball the other way. But boy, you don't think on the tee shot, he's not putting that tee shot somewhere where he goes, now I get to hit my favorite shot into the green.
Right.
That's the way those guys are doing it. And that's why his approach shots are so good because he plans it off the tee.
Well, that's course management, right?
And sometimes having a good caddy. Yeah, sometimes having a good caddy. If you really don't, if your goal is just get up there and, hit it a mile, sometimes course management. If you ever want to get a fast track in course management, when you complete a hole, stand at the green and look backwards and say to yourself, yeah, where's the best place? Oh, from over there. Then why am I aiming down the right side? I'd be better in the left rough than I'd be over. That's fast course management 101.
Yeah. Course management is something that that's always motivated me on this program is if you understand course management and understand how to, and I struggled with this during COVID time, but how to not beat yourself up when you're playing and not get in your own way, as Dr. Joe Parent would say, help people get out of their own way. You can play well. You're not playing on the tour, but you can lower your scores if you understand those elements.
I think there was some sort of a challenge or, and even out in the Southern California area, I want to say Derek Ayuda was doing some of this too, where he would take younger, outstanding juniors or collegiate players, and then he'd have guys that caddied on the pro tour. And literally he'd send them out to play 18 holes. And it was just life changing. And of course, they've played all their life that they've always hit driver on this hole. And believe me, the one thing that's very interesting is those guys out on tour, they're not playing safe every hole. And I think that's the misconception. Well, a pro caddy's going to take the driver out of my hand. Oh, no. He gets paid based on how his player performs. He wants his player to make as many birdies as possible. They got to love birdies more than they hate bogeys. But when it's a time to make a par, those guys know it. And, it's one of those at the beginning of the week, they go, we walk away from this par 3 with a par every day, we're going to lap the field. But they know it when they play the practice round. And that's kind of interesting, if you ever have an opportunity, or go caddy for one of your buddies, and just kind of go, why don't you hit it over here? I've seen you hit this shot 100 times. That bunker's no problem for you. You hit the ball real high. I can't get over that bunker. Why don't you try it?
That's interesting. That would be an interesting thing to do, is like caddy for your friend, because you've played with them that much, and because it's really inappropriate to make those kind of suggestions when you're playing against them, right? or to make suggestions. But if you go, today I'm going to be your caddy, and I'm going to see what I can do to help your game, because I see the things that you're doing that maybe you shouldn't be doing, or that you need suggestions, but I don't want to do that while we're competing.
Well, of course.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, no, those competing things are saying things like, does it look like the level of the lake has gone up? Do they?
Lake?
Boy, they haven't
lake?
mowed that rough in a while.
Good point. Hey, we have another show here called Golf Smarter Mulligans that comes out on Fridays. Golf Smarter comes out on Tuesdays. Golf Smarter Mulligans is just programs that are no longer available, but they're in the Golf Smarter archive. So we like to bring them back for one more try. Let's see what's happening this week. We'll be back after this. This week on Golf Smarter Mulligans, we open our scrapbook and take a collective trip down Golf Smarter memory lane. Over the next 2 Mulligans episodes, we'll go back to 2009 and join 2 events that happened over 2 days in the San Francisco Bay Area. The second of the 2 episodes, I'm going to take you to Sunday at the President's Cup, played at Harding Park in San Francisco. We'll go behind the scenes for an audio tour of the event. This week, we'll hear what happened the next day, a little north of San Francisco, across the Golden Gate Bridge, as we have a Golf Smarter listener party in which we played 18 holes together and then did a live Q&A with legendary and influential club maker Jesse Ortiz.
Wedge technology hasn't changed much in 50 years. If you take a look at the wedges of today and the wedges of 30, 40 years ago, there really hasn't been a major improvement in technology from 40 or 50 years ago. They're all classic-looking shapes. The only thing that's different now is everyone's milling the score lines in so you can get a perfect box groove. That is more of a precision-milled score lines that's very important. I hooked up with Pels when I was at Orlamar back in 2001. We were the first guys to mill the faces and the grooves in wedges. I remember at the Orlando show in 2001, I had all the other manufacturers in my booth. All the guys were in there checking the faces, looking at the clubs, and 18 months later, my competitors came out with milled grooves.
That's episode 96 of Golf Smarter Mulligans, featuring Jesse Ortiz and Golf Smarter listeners at our President's Cup listener party being released this Friday. Both Golf Smarter and Golf Smarter Mulligans are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Please subscribe to both, and when you do, you'll be notified immediately when a brand new episode of either has downloaded to your favorite podcast app. Frequently, I ask questions that I feel could be either, it's like I'm in the back of the classroom and I'm like, oh, this is a stupid question. I'm afraid to ask it. But then I get emails from people saying, thank you for asking that question. So I'm going to ask a question now that is probably stupid, but I'm going to go for it anyway. Why is it so important to have a draw and or a fade? Why, for beginner golfers or amateur golfers that don't get, is the goal not just to be able to hit it straight? What's wrong with straight?
Straight is great. Next question.
Oh, that was okay. I'm getting new bumper stickers made. Straight is great.
Oh my gosh. Literally, I think one would assume potentially that the average golfer who starts, because it doesn't make any sense to kind of swing the handle of the club. It makes sense to whack the ball with that metal head on the end of it. Most of the players that start, when you throw the club at the ball and you whack the ball with the metal head, it doesn't really get up in the air quite the way it should. So little by little, the face starts to open, and then you get a little bit of a fade or a slice. Why should they learn both shots? I think inadvertently they end up learning both shots because the majority of golfers probably start slicing the ball, and then they have to learn how to make it go straight, which literally means you have to make it go the other way first. And then it's kind of this porridge is too cold, this porridge is too hot, this one is just right. But to know how to work the ball both ways, I think when you would look like as a junior and you take a junior golfer, they've got to be able to make it move a little to the left and a little bit to the right, because some tee shots require that. Sometimes hole locations require that. And I'm saying that from the standpoint of, you could also have a player who hits it down the middle and hits it on the center of the green. That player needs to be a good putter also. And you just may have some longer birdie putts, but being able to work the ball might allow you to get the ball a little closer to the hole. You go from junior to college, you're beyond just making the ball go to the left and to the right. Now you have to learn how to make it go a lot left or a little left, a lot right or a little right. And as you start to get to that upper echelon of college, the hidden factor in there is that now the players are starting to learn to control the trajectory of it. It's funny to watch kids, and I see it on the Vanderbilt teams, and the guys and the gals, and they come in and they all have their standard shot. And by the end of 4 years, you can see that they've taken a high ball and lowered it a little bit, or they've taken a lower ball and heightened it a little bit, so that they can make the ball play in windy and different weather conditions the way they need to. Why does the ball need to go left or right? Because you would like it to go straight. And if it only goes one direction, you're really hindering yourself. It's like having a car that the wheel is, instead of 12 o'clock straight up, the wheel is stuck at 1 o'clock, and you kind of go, all right, how do I get to your house again? You take a left at the next light, and you go, I'm going to be taking 3 rights, and then I'll get back to your house. I think they call that a Michigan left turn. You go through the intersection, you take a right, and then you take another right, and you go through the intersection you were trying to go through.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, but I graduated college decades ago. I'm not a college competitive golfer. I am not planning on playing competitively, and I know that golf is, it's a game and you play to win, but my shot is like a natural fade. I never learned how to hit that fade. I just know that's my shot shape, right? And occasionally, once, maybe twice around, I'll go, whoa, I hit a draw that time. How'd I do that? Right? But I can still play in the low 80s, and I'm ecstatic with that, and I'll break 80 a couple times. But still, when I hit the ball straight and it goes right off and just go, I love the look of that. And why am I missing something that, for my level of competition, and many of us who don't, aren't playing club championships, we just want to go out and play. Why do I need to concern myself that the left and the right? And it's like, off the tee, I just want it to go into the middle of the fairway.
Honestly, I think, Fred, honestly, you worded it best. You talk about course management, and going back to Colin Mawakara, you know your shot shape, you know what it does. Do you have to be able to do that? No. You're smart enough and disciplined enough to go, man, I'd like to hit it close to that flag, but that's over there by that bunker on the left. And I'd rather have a 20 or 30 foot putt than I would that bunker shot out of there. And there's My friend, you have graduated to the next level of golf. Intelligence over
I'm
ego.
Certified.
Intelligence over ego. And that's literally what happens. The minute you realize I have the skill and I can do it. For the average player, I would say this much. When you start looking at your scoring irons, your 7, 8, 9 iron, your wedges, they're not going to move a lot to the left and to the right anyway. And those are the ones you're going to try and throw close to the pin. If you were ever going to learn to move a ball on demand the other way, you might just do it with your driver. Because if you could hit a little bit of a draw, it might get a little more roll. It might cut the corner on the left. If you can hit a little bit of a fade, then you've got that ability to make the ball kind of corner the follow the fairway and just put you in a better position. But you wouldn't have to know it for all. And I'm using this as a very recent example. I had a LPGA rookie that spent the last week down here with me, and she has a grip that notoriously, it's just a gorgeous, start it down the middle, fades about 3 yards. And she goes, every time I try and draw the ball, I really get in trouble. And I watched her play and I said, why? And she got this big smile and she goes, you've seen them. They don't draw. They go further right than any shot you've ever seen. And I said, exactly. So how would you learn to hit that? And all we literally did was change one little thing in her grip. And she went, oh my gosh, that's all I need? And I go, should I use this on every shot? And that was her question, almost to your point. Should I use this on every shot? I said, why would you? The only club that you have a little interest in drawing is this one. And every time you try and draw it, you end up blocking the ball 20 more yards offline. The rest of your stuff, it's a nice little fade. Why wouldn't you play that? All of a sudden she went, yeah, this is pretty cool. It's kind of like having fifth gear where I can hit this one a little harder if I want to, or, hey, I got this little nuance I'm going to create. And now I know the ball, when I try and hit a draw, it'll either go straight, it'll draw a little, but it won't go somewhere where I got a lot of work in front of me. So as a tee shot, maybe that would be worthwhile.
So what was the little thing you showed her?
You got to put that grip a little bit more in your fingers than in your palm. You put a little bit more down in your fingers, and then your hand's in a position where it can really roll and snap a lot. And that helps close the face a little more.
Interesting.
We will have another meeting in about 9 months, how to get rid of the horrendous hook you have just required.
Well, the good thing is that we now have the Perfect Motion app that you're involved in, and we've talked about on the show multiple times. Let's talk about Perfect Motion, but first let's take one more break, last one, and then we'll come back and discuss that. Joe, I'm so excited that you're involved with the Perfect Motion app. We've had Chip back on talking about it. We had the CEO, Rich, and Chip on the same episode. And I have been, I don't take golf lessons. I've had a couple, but I talk to golf instructors all the time. And I've learned a tremendous amount, and it's really helped. But this is the first time that I feel like I'm getting lessons, and I'm getting these videos from Chip that is really having an impact on my contact. But it's changing my body position and, the way I'm too far forward, forward motion. I'm just really enjoying the app. What is it about the app from your perspective that sucked you in, that got you involved?
I'll tell you what, Rich and the whole group at Perfect Motion, first of all, you're getting help from somebody who is the most positive and one of the nicest people you will ever meet in your entire life, Chip Beck. And really, he wants everybody to shoot 59, which we are all shooting 59 at one point. We just aren't on the 18th hole. So Stop when you shoot 59 and go, Chip, I made it a hole further today. That's the way that works. So
the Bob Hope School of Golf, right?
Literally. But they've taken some technology. Your cell phone has more, and I know you have talked to Rich about kind of the details of this thing. Your cell phone has more listening and viewing power in it than you could ever realize. I mean, my wife and I watched something the other night, and it was literally on country music, and she goes, "Oh, there's Dwight Yoakam." She goes, "Gosh, he was always so good." Well, the next day, of course, what pops up? Dwight Yoakam music catalog, literally on your emails. So I think in the beginning, a lot of people looked at this technology and they said, "Gosh, it's just your cell phone. What can that possibly do?" Well, it can follow what your body does, Fred, as you know. It's drawing a map of your swing. The thing I like about it as an instructor is this. If we come out and we look at something on your game and we go, "Boy, here's a great drill for you." A great drill for you to hit your wedges better would be to hit some shots with your feet side by side, very close together. Then we can put that on the app. And on the app, we can kind of go, "Oh, wow, you're moving around a lot less, or you don't fall forward or fall backward on the shot. I want you to do this drill and then gradually widen your stance." And you'll get to a point where all of a sudden, there goes my map again. Now my map is all over the place. And the minute you see that, you go, "Okay, I know what the drill." First of all, it's going to tell me because I'm getting the feedback. Every time you do it, it's coming through on my phone. And I can kind of look and go, "Fred, you're doing the drill, right? Good. I thought so. Your map looks perfect. It's a nice straight line." But then all of a sudden, if you're doing a drill and you go, then you can easily go, "Just send me a quick text, a quick email, show me." And you go, "Oh, this was the part of the drill you forgot. You got to stand closer and you can't reach out as far for the ball." So having the ability to do a drill to help your swing and guide that drill, and like this one, getting the stance a little wider, you go, "Well, maybe that's as wide as my wedge stance should be." I know in the very beginning, Stacy Lewis and I started doing something a little bit off season. And for the listeners that haven't kind of investigated this yet, which I think that you should 110%, it's incredible technology, and it's as you said, it's fun. Then the funnest part is put a crazy swing on there. You go, "I wonder what that looked like." And you go, put a good swing on there. But even as this technology is so new, these motion maps, there's not a pre-described one. "Oh, that's perfect. It's the negative infinity symbol," or "That's perfect. It's an upside down W." There's a perfect one for everybody based on your body flexibility, based on your size. And as Stacy said, we may not know what the perfect map looks like, but I know this much. If my map looks different every swing I take with my wedge or my 9-iron, that's not good. That means that good luck hitting your numbers on TrackMan. If your body's doing something different every time you hit that ball, consistency becomes very hard. So whatever your map might be, learn, just like we were talking about, what's your shot shape? What's your map look like? What's a map you can repeat over and over and over again? And that's helped me as an instructor to see where students come from. When I watch them hit golf balls, I'm like, "Cool, let's put the app on there right now and just take a look at one or two. Oh, wow. That's what a good map should look like. Yours is 3 circles and a triangle, and what we really want is an upside down 7. Oh, okay. And then when we devise a drill that produces that more, I want you to do 2 with the drill and then hit a regular shot. 2 with the drill, hit a regular shot. Learning happens a lot faster that way because you're seeing and getting immediate feedback. And it's not a $30,000 piece of equipment. But I'll tell you this much. I know that Rich and Chip and to some extent myself have put it in front of different pieces of technology, launch monitors, force plates. It's not beating that technology at all, but it's validating exactly what people are seeing on the ground or what the ball's doing. You go, "Gosh, if your body went this way and, gyrated way over the top, I'll bet the shot would be a slice." So you can start to see these things. It's a totally new view of what's happening. And it isn't just about making your body have this perfect design and perfect fit. It's about what kind of a swing can you make? Maybe for you, it's an out to in swing, or maybe it's a flatter swing. What one makes that map look the same over and over? The minute you get those maps to look the same, you're on your road to some really consistent golf. And the coolest part, as a student and an instructor, it's a journey, and it's such new technology that there's not answers already of predetermined, you need to do this. It's such new technology that you go, I don't know, let's hit one off of your left leg only once and see what happens. Let's do this. Let's widen the stance. Let's stand closer. Let's stand further away. It's such new that it's the coolest thing in teaching, because there's a door open to go, why don't we try this? Let's see what happens. That's kind of what happened with TrackMan years ago. It's like, how do we change the number? We've done everything we know. Well, try stuff you don't know. And when you get new technology, that's the blessing of what this is. A great tool for instructors, a lot of fun for players. I know they, if I remember right, and you've probably done all these, they have it broken into a drive, an iron, a chip, and a putt.
And a wedge.
And a wedge, yeah. And the putting thing, which tracks your head movement, is bizarrely good. You would have no idea how much your head moves around in a putt at all.
Right.
I mean,
right. I sent some to, I have a putting green in my backyard, and I sent some putts to Chip. Not some chips. I sent some putts to Chip. Not some chips to putt. Right. and he made one suggestion about shortening my stroke, and it's had a huge positive impact on me. I'm blown away. I was missing short putts all the time. I've gone to a short stroke now, and it's like, oh, these aren't that tough. I was amazed at that. But I find this app so helpful, so simple to use. I think the hardest thing about it is getting it set up. It's like, I want to use all these different toys and things to stand it up while I'm standing. And it's like, just put your head cover there and stop messing around with it.
That's literally what it is. I mean, just put your head cover down there and lean it up against there. And I'll tell you something funny about the app, and your listeners might appreciate this, but basically, as you know from talking to Rich, it's facial recognition, but these cats, it's recognizing a lot more in your face. I don't know how these cats got to do that, but the first time I have someone on the app, it'll say, address the ball.
Yep.
Look to the target. Look back at the ball. Swing. So I'll have them address the ball when the app says address the ball. And then I'll say, now when it says look to the target, don't look to the target. And it says, look to the target. And they don't look to the target. And 2 seconds later, it says, resetting, address the ball. It knew you didn't look to the target.
Right.
So it knows what's going on.
It wasn't that polite with me. It was like, no, come on, Fred, what are you doing? Would you please look at the target, Fred? I'm busy. No.
Oh, yeah. I think we need to get one of those disrespectful series on there to kind of go, how many times do I have to tell you to look at the target? You should know this by now. You have 400 swings on here. But it literally is a great piece of technology, and it's something that everybody has with them at the range. And to be able to kind of say, I don't know what I'm doing, but gosh, somehow these maps need to look the same. And then you've got, not only, as you know, you not only have some embedded videos for, gosh, it looks like you're falling backwards. Well, here's a good drill to try. Not only that, now you've got a team of professionals that can work with you and say, boy, you could gain 10 yards if you got more to your left side when you get through. The professional can go through, they can monitor your progress, look at your maps. It's literally a way for you to get where you want to go faster.
Yep. What I find fascinating about the Perfect Motion app for me is that consistently the message back to me is either too far forward at impact or reverse pivot. And Rich sent me this great video from Allie Taylor about how to work the reverse pivot thing that I'd never even heard before. And it's really made a big difference. And of course, after he explained to, rock back and forth on your feet, just get that feeling of being backwards and forwards. It was very helpful. The next day, I saw a video of like this 10-year-old kid playing golf. And before he hit every shot, he rocked back and forth. He rocked back and forth, stopped and swung the ball. I was like, wait a minute, I just heard about that. How did he know about that? Right. My mistakes are consistent, and it gives me something strong to work on. And then I get the videos from Chip and emails from Chip that have been phenomenal. So I'm just so impressed with Perfect Motion app. I think it's really helpful.
One of the cool things they've got out is they've got their PPI, which is their little, it's like perfect practice, or it's their index, which basically, like you say,
perfect index. Yeah.
It's kind of like, gosh, I keep getting these same errors up. But that index is actually going to tell you, I know you're still getting the same errors, but you're doing better. You're getting your parameters are tightening, and it's looking at that. And that way in itself, you don't want everything to pop up as an error, but you go, well, my mistakes are a little less. And look, it doesn't take a scientist to figure out if your mistakes become less and they're a little more in one consistent motion, your ball striking has to start getting a little bit better. It's just a byproduct.
Yeah, I am getting that PPI score. What is, like, ultimately, what is the highest number I can get on the PPI? Is it 100 that I'm shooting for?
Literally, it would be 100. Imagine if every time you swung, your map said you're falling back.
Yeah.
And yet we did some drill like Allie helped you with, and you saw that, then you would kind of go, hey, I just took 10 swings and I had no fallbacks. Now, that's not necessarily going to jump you from 50% to 100% or 100, but the more you can keep repeating that, all of a sudden your index, the beauty that PPI index covers, which is incredible, it covers the overcorrection. You're swinging too far out to in. Well, that would have a certain map. No, you need to swing in to out. Well, at one point it gets straight to straight, but then all of a sudden it starts going the other way, and you're like, okay, now you have a whole different. As good as you were doing on this, you done run right past, the sweet spot, and now you're heading the wrong direction. So it's always going to kind of keep you from that bounce around that you get in this game of golf. Too far to the right, too far to the left. It makes those far to the right and far to the lefts a lot tighter.
Yep. And what's interesting again is I've just been working at level 1, and there's level 1, 2, and 3, and my PPI is still 35. So I got a long way to go. I mean, just to get to level 2, I have a long way to go, but I'm excited to do it. I'm enjoying it very much. It works great at the driving range. Works great in the backyard. It works great without a ball. And doing it without a ball has been really helpful because I feel it's a different swing. I'm feeling, oh, wait, when I hit it with a ball, it's like, it didn't feel the same way. So anyway,
Fred,
Perfect Motion app.
I mean, not that you just hit on the most important thing, and it's probably a good thing to kind of, that tool can be used with or without a ball. And let me tell you, you've already experienced it. You felt it. A practice swing without a ball and then a ball in front of you is two different people. And if you don't believe it, watch anybody you play golf with and go, Bob, I don't know how you can make such a good practice swing before you tee off every time, but it's a completely
different swing.
A yard sale when you actually get up to hit the ball. It's like, how can it become so different? So first of all, learning how to do it properly without a ball is stage 1. And that's the greatness of that tool.
Amazing. How do we find you on the internet, my friend?
joehallettgolf.com. Click on there, send a message, say hello.
And that's HALLETT.
You got it. Absolutely. 2 L's and 2 T's. And then, Fred, I know you and I are going to work on something for your listeners here. So as we get that put together, I'll let you put that in at the end of this. And, we'll make the game fun for them somehow, even if it is warm where you are.
And you know what? When we're around you, Joe, it's always fun. It was great to talk to you, buddy.
Fred, thanks.
So I'm not sure I should share this with you, but Joe actually had me take out some of this conversation because he felt the topic of why and how to select a PGA professional to take lessons from is worthy of an entire episode, as he has a full curriculum on this topic that he teaches to his certified PGA professional students. So stay tuned for that. And by the way, that's why our breaks in this episode were a little bit off timing, because I had to remove a section. Anyway, but there's more about Joe. In regards to the Perfect Motion app, Now, you may have heard a couple weeks ago we had Chip Beck, Mr. 59, and we heard this incredible offer to get a full year of instruction from him via the Perfect Motion app. Those were in episode 771 and 772 from December of 2020. Anyway, Joe Hallett is not to be outdone. Not that he's competitive or anything, but he talked to Perfect Motion app CEO Rich Kozowski, who we've spoken to, and wanted to make Golf Smarter listeners an exclusive offer to get his insights and lessons via the Perfect Motion app. Now, usually, Joe Hallett provides his services via the app for $150 a month. But they're going to provide Golf Smarter listeners with what they call an even par special, which gives you a month to work with PGA certified master professional Joe Hallett via the Perfect Motion app for iOS or Android for only $72 for a month. Now, if you're in or near Franklin, Tennessee, the usual rate to work with Joe in person is about $225 an hour. So $72 for a month of work with Joe Hallett is quite an incredible deal. I hope that you'll take advantage of the offer by using Golf Smarter when you sign up for a lesson with Joe on the app. I'll have links and more info about it all in today's show notes. Last week, I talked about sharing a video of my experience using my new one-iron golf single-length irons as I went out for the first time with these clubs. So I did. I captured video of each time I pulled out one of these beautiful Blackstone irons from One Iron Golf. But then I went home and I watched the video. And frankly, I was bored. And I don't want to subject you to that. I didn't think it was necessary to put these shots in looking down the line of me taking a swing and you not being able to see the results. So let me just say that for me personally, it takes a while to get accustomed to new irons. I've done it a couple of times. So I intend to play with them many more rounds because along with some poor shots that were probably more about my swing than it was the club's performance, I did have some shots that felt great and led to more birdie opportunities than I'm used to, some of which I was able to convert. If you visit the blog post from today's episode at golfsmarter.com, I will include one or two of these swings for you to see. Of course, if you're interested in the single-length irons from One Iron Golf and still have more questions, I'd love to talk to you about it. Please write to me, and I'll be more than happy to give you any insights that I can provide or answers to your questions. Now, if you've been a Golf Smarter listener for a while, then you're familiar with a teacher named Tony Manzoni, who taught in the Coachella Valley area around Palm Desert and Palm Springs. He was the most popular teacher ever featured on this podcast. And in that time he was on the show, I received more positive comments in social media and emails than any teacher, hands down. Any teacher that I've featured. And Tony was on, because of it, at least a dozen times. Tony passed away after his battle with cancer in late 2018. Last year, we dedicated the month of March, called it March with Manzoni. And next week, I'll have an announcement on what I'm going to do to honor Tony's memory again, to get our golf season started, make his video and his book available to all of you. So stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions on what you'd like to hear on an upcoming interview, I'd love to hear from you. Use @GolfSmarter in social media. Subscribe to Golf Smarter TV on YouTube, or just click on the Hey Fred button. Yep, there's a button that just says, Hey Fred, and it's at golfsmarter.com.